What's up, everybody? Garrett back here, and what I want to talk about today is 9 movies that I think you need to check out. Alright, so if you guys haven't been following me for a while, I know I have a ton of new subscribers, but I've been doing a series last year called RAD Recommendations, where I have someone else from the horror and movie community come onto my channel and we discuss a movie that we both love that we feel doesn't get enough credit it deserves. Now, what I want this video to be is a little bit of a recap for the first 9 episodes I did in 2021. I have 2 new episodes coming in the next couple weeks that I'm going to talk about at the end of this video. So right now I'm going to run through episode 1 through 9 and let you know what movies we talked about, and maybe you can go back and check them out. Alright, so episode 1, the first ever episode of RAD Recommendations, we talked about a movie that I feel like absolutely gets zero love, and it's such a great movie. And the person that I had on the show to talk about this was somebody who likes it just as much as me. He does not have a YouTube, but he has an Instagram with a pretty large following. You guys probably follow him. His name is Slasher Disc. So he came on my show for the first time and talked about the movie Firstborn. Firstborn is a movie that came out in 1984, and it was also the debut movie of Corey Haim. Now, this has a star-studded cast, and it's an action thriller. So if you guys haven't checked this one out, Olive Films put out the Blu-ray, which I'm not sure if it's still available or not. I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere, but I think you guys should definitely go check this one out. So this is about a family, a mother who is played by Terry Garr, and her 2 sons, which is Corey Haim and Chris Collette. So what happens in this is Terry Garr's character finds a new boyfriend played by none other than Peter Weller. They hit it off pretty well, and he ends up moving in. And Corey Haim and Chris Collette's character don't like him too much. They don't trust him. They feel like something's not right. In my opinion, this is Peter Weller's best performance I've ever seen him at. He is just off the walls as this odd psycho boyfriend. Man, this is something you guys need to check out. I champion this all the time. It's got some great one-liners in this as well. And there's a lot more people in this movie, so we're also talking about Chris Collette. In the movie, his girlfriend is played by Sarah Jessica Parker, and his best friend is Robert Downey Jr. And if you want to check out our episode, again, this is when I first started YouTube, so the quality and stuff is not the greatest. But if you want to check that out, we get really in-depth and talked a lot more about this movie and our opinions on it, and dive deep and pretty spoiler-heavy on this movie, Firstborn. All right, the second movie I want to talk about is fun action martial arts movie, Miami Connection. So Miami Connection came out in 1987. It's a martial arts movie. It's almost one of those so bad it's good type movies. Man, this thing is a trip. My episode I did this was episode 2 with GCap Recap, who also has a YouTube channel as well. And we go in depth and talk deep about Miami Connection and what makes us such big fans. Now, this Blu-ray release here is long out of print. It was put out by Image. I think they did this Draft House Films line or whatever. But this is a real hard one to come by now. I'm hoping that someone like Vinegar Syndrome maybe re-releases it for anybody who has not been able to check this thing out. If you liked Vinegar Syndrome's recent release of New York Ninja, this Miami Connection is right up your alley. It's very similar in tone, in that kind of hokiness there. The action is pretty cool, but the story is insane. It's hilarious. The acting is incredible in a bad way. And what I will say is the music in this is kick-ass, and I'm saying that dead serious. It's so bad it's good. You guys have to check out Miami Connection. Find it. It's probably either on YouTube or streaming somewhere, but I'm sure you guys can hunt it down. So again, if you want to check out episode 2 with GCap Recap on the movie Miami Connection, there'll be links down below. All right, episode 3 is a movie that came out in 1985. It's called Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I did an episode 3 with Justin Ryan, or Ryan1988 here on YouTube, and we talk in depth about this movie, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Now, this is not something that I saw as a kid. This is something I actually saw later down the road, because with a title like this and this cover, it just didn't really seem like something that would be up my alley. It seemed like a very chick flick type of movie, and in a way, I guess it is, but man, this is such a cool movie. It's basically about, again, we're talking about Sarah Jessica Parker again stars in this. You've got Helen Hunt, Shannon Doherty, and Jonathan Silverman. There's a pretty all-star cast in this as well. And what I like about this, it's like it takes place kind of like those old school like dance shows that used to take place on TV, like dance competition type things. It's very 80s. The music is really, really good here. And basically, Sarah Jessica Parker's character is kind of new in town, and she wants to be on this dance show, Dance TV. It's kind of the hit show for the teenagers back then. And they have tryouts in her town, and she goes there and she's trying out for this show. And again, it's hard to explain, but basically it's about her journey to get there. Kind of feels like it could be a John Hughes movie, but it's not. But I think that you guys might enjoy this one. Like I said, the music is really, really good here. This Blu-ray is actually put out by Image as well. and I think it's very easily attainable. So check out Girls Just Want to Have Fun. The movie is probably streaming somewhere. And again, if you like 80s fashion and music, I think you'll like this one too. All right, episode 4, or number 4 on the movies I'm going to talk about here, is going to be a movie that just recently got a lot more steam because it was on the Joe Bob Briggs show, and that is Black Roses. Now, again, this is one that we talked heavily about, and I actually had returning guest GCap Recap to talk to me about this awesome 80s rock movie. Now, Black Roses is about a band called Black Roses that are like a hair metal band, and they show up at this small town, Mill Basin, and they perform live for all the kids. They're like the hottest act right now. They never go on tour. They're finally going on tour, so these kids are going crazy. They're coming to their small little town, and they really don't understand why. But as this starts to progress, we understand exactly why. And I don't want to spoil it too heavy here. If you want to know more about it, go check out that episode. We dig deep into this movie and talk about it. But what I'm going to say is this is probably my favorite 80s rock movie. I know a lot of people really love Trick or Treat, which is a great movie. But in my opinion, this is my favorite. And I'm so glad it's getting a lot more love now due to Joe Bob Briggs. Now, the music on this thing is insane. If you like 80s hair metal, this music kicks so much ass. I think you guys are going to definitely love this. If you haven't, I know for sure it is on Shudder currently right now, because this DVD, I'm not sure how readily available it currently is, but it does not have a Blu-ray release, sadly. So this is really the only physical media release that you can find. I know the VHS was really cool. It had like a lot of embossed stuff on it. It was actually a really cool edition. But Black Roses, guys, do not sleep on this thing. I think you're going to love it. Number 5 was episode 5 I did with Wes at Dead Pit Radio. You've seen me stream with those guys a bunch, so you know him. And we talked about Flight of the Navigator, which came out in 1986. Man, this was a movie that we talked heavily about. It was owned by Disney at one point. I'm not sure if it still is, but like this was put out by Second Sight Films, and it's really hard to come by now on Blu-ray. It does have a DVD by Disney. But man, I saw this movie as a kid and I absolutely loved it. And the story behind this too, with the main character, Joey Kramer, is really interesting. So if you guys haven't seen that documentary about him after what happened with this movie, man, I would check that out so much. I think it's called Life After Navigator. We also talk heavily about that in our review of this as well. So guys, if you want to check this out, episode 5 with Wes, we dive deep into Flight of the Navigator. And what's funny about this, as I'm going through all these titles, number 1 is another movie which music rocks, and it's also starring Sarah Jessica Parker. All right, number 6, episode 6, I have guest Justin, Movie Watch Daily on YouTube. We talk about a 1985 teen comedy, Just One of the Guys. Just One of the Guys is a great movie, guys. Hopefully you guys have seen this. This was something that I absolutely loved growing up. And it is just so good. It's just one of those teen comedies from the 80s that I feel like does not get talked about enough. Joyce Heiser is in this, and man, this is so good. It's basically about a girl, Terry Griffith, played by Joyce Heiser, and she's a writer for the newspaper, and she really wants to win this contest, and she feels because she's a female, the odds of her winning the contest are hard. So what she decides to do was to go to a different school, dress up like a boy, and try to convince everybody that she is a boy to write this column. Now, man, I don't know how well this would age now, but this was something that was so different at that time. And being as young as I was when I saw this, this was definitely over my head. And it's got another all-star cast here as well. One in particular is William Zabka, which I love his performance in this movie. So guys, if you have not seen Just One of the Guys, it is something you need to track down. This Blu-ray was put out by Sony. I'm sure it's still available, and I'm sure it's not that expensive. So guys, definitely track this down. I'm not sure if it's on streaming, but check and search for it. There was also a sequel with Corey Haim called Just One of the Girls. So if you want to learn more about this movie, if you've seen this movie and you want to hear us talk about it, make sure to check out episode 6 with Movie Watch Daily. All right, episode 7. I did this solo because this was the beginning of season 2 of RAD Recommendations. And I did this by myself about a movie that I thought needed to be talked about, and I didn't know a lot of people who had seen this to talk about it with me. So that movie is Night Visitor, which came out in 1989. And this is a Scorpion Blu-ray release, which I talk about in my review that I got from RoninFlix.com, and it was very limited at the time. Guys, so if you haven't seen this, Take my word for it. I think you will enjoy it. It's an 80s, takes place in suburbs, really reminds me of like Fright Night, just the budget being a little bit smaller. It's really cool. And what I love about this too is the music rocks as well. So great score, great soundtrack on here. Derek Rydell is the lead here. Guys, go listen to my review I did on this one. This is episode 7 on RAD recommendations. I will have all the links down below. I'll have all the links at the end of this video. But man, Night Visitor, check it out. I'm sure it's probably on YouTube. Definitely one I recommend. All right, number 8 is going to be Cant Buy Me Love from 1987. I talk about this again with Justin from Movie Watch Daily, who returned for season 2 to talk about Cant Buy Me Love with Patrick Dempsey. Now, this is a real cool movie. We talk about it. It's basically like a very John Hughes-esque type teen comedy from the 80s. But again, it's not John Hughes, but it feels very up that alley. Cant Buy Me Love is basically about a kid played by Patrick Dempsey and a girl played by Amanda Peterson. And she's like the most popular girl in school. He's very nerdy. And what happens is she needs money. She had destroyed her mom's outfit. She needs money. He has money because all he does is work. And he was really saving up for like a telescope that I really wanted. But he thought, hey, guess what? If I give this girl enough money to replace her mom's jacket, I'm going to make a deal with her that she has to date me and make me cool in school. So, guys, they make a bet. They date. He becomes the coolest kid in school. And, guys, this is a real cool comedy. If you want to hear us talk more about it, go find episode 8. Cant Buy Me Love, RAD recommendations. Maybe you really enjoyed this one. Maybe you haven't seen this one. Track it down, Cant Buy Me Love. It does not have a Blu-ray yet. Hopefully it gets one very soon because I think this is a lost comedy that nobody really talks about, and I highly recommend. All right, so the last one is number 9, which I did episode 9, kind of closing out the year in 2021. And I had a special guest, Mr. Sean Clark, who came on this channel to talk about a teen comedy. So again, as you see, there's really only 2 horror movies in this whole mix. And this one is a teen comedy from the 80s as well. It is 3 O'Clock High. This is a real cool movie. Very, again, along the same lines as John Hughes. As you see, I'm a big fan of John Hughes movies from the 80s. And there's a lot of these ones that feel like a John Hughes movie, but they aren't. So this was actually a movie written to kind of combat with what John Hughes was doing. So it has a very similar vibe, but this one is a little bit more like edgy, I think you would say. About a kid. He also kind of works for the newspaper in high school. And a new kid that comes to school, played by Richard Tyson, who I know from as Crisp in Kindergarten Cop. And he plays like this new kid in school that everybody's afraid of. Like, he just got out of jail. He's this big bully. There's a lot of stuff that people are saying about him. He's like killed people. He's beat up teachers. And this kid wants to interview him for the paper and kind of makes him mad right off the bat. So from there, Richard Tyson says they are going to fight at 3 o'clock. So basically this movie is about Buddy Revell, which is the kid's name here, and his day leading up to the big fight at 3 o'clock. Now, guys, that is definitely one to check out. That Blu-ray comes from Shout Factory, and I'm sure it is still available. So if you want to check out that episode, that was episode 9 with Sean Clark, who you can find on Instagram and YouTube as Malfunction Sean. You guys know him, I'm sure, from the horror community. He's a big name. He's been doing Horror's Hallowed Ground forever on a lot of our favorite releases. So, guys, definitely cool to check out that video with him because we talk about the movie and also a lot of other things like collectibles, and we talk a little bit about the horror circuit and convention scenes. So there's a lot of good nuggets in that episode. So definitely go back and check it out. But yeah, guys, that is 9 movies that I want you guys to watch if you haven't tuned into my RAD recommendations episodes from last year. I will have all the videos linked below to check those out. But man, take my word for it. These are movies I want you to check out. And maybe you've seen them, but I want to urge you to go back and give them another watch because I think these are movies that are underrated and underappreciated that I think need a little more love. Now, before I sign off, I have 2 more RAD recommendation episodes coming starting this Wednesday with episode 10. Now, episode 10, I felt, you know what? It would only make sense to bring back the guy who started this with me, and that is Slasher Disc from Instagram. He is coming back as his second YouTube video ever this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to discuss a movie that gets 0 love, that does not even have a DVD, which is funny because this might be the only movie I do not actually have a physical copy of in my collection. I know he has a VHS he is going to showcase, but what I do have is I have the movie poster for this, and it's right over my shoulder here. It is another Patrick Dempsey movie called Run. Now, Run is an action-packed thriller I think you guys are going to really like. If you are a fan of this movie, you definitely want to tune in and hear what we have to say about it. If you've never seen this before, there is a version on YouTube which we'll talk about. But also, too, guys, I want you to watch this because we want to get this snowballed a little bit to get this a new Blu-ray release from a company maybe like Vestron or MVD Rewind or Kino, because we think this movie deserves a little bit more love. So definitely come check that out this Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself and Slasher Disc are going to dig deep on Run. So then a week after that episode, that next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to go live as well on RAD Recommendation Episode 11. I'm going to be talking about the movie that is over this shoulder, 1989's The Burbs. And I'm going to be talking about that with Mel from My Killer Podcast on YouTube and on Instagram. So check her out as well. We are going to talk about 1989's The Burbs and digging deep and telling you our memories on that forgotten Tom Hanks classic. And I just want to thank you guys so much for checking this out. My videos have been getting a lot more views lately, so make sure if you haven't, you subscribe to this channel because, again, I've got guaranteed content to come out every week. If you're into this kind of stuff like movies, collectibles, nostalgia, definitely subscribe down below. It'll really help this channel out and help it grow. And make sure to give this video a like. It'll help other people see it because I want to get people in and check us out on Wednesday with Slasher Disc, having some fun and talking about Run. Please leave down in the comments below. Have you seen any of these movies? Are you fans of any of these movies? Maybe you haven't checked any of these out. And man, go back and check out some of those RAD recommendations and let me know in those comments that this video brought you over there. All right, guys, this is Garrett at Born to Be Rad, and like always, stay rad.